Something I've been thinking about recently is reboots. And I'm not talking about when they reboot a movie or a series that was on a long time ago and after a few decades they decide to bring it back. There's a lot of reboots out there from forgotten series or old nostalgic classics. Reboots like Ninja Turtles, Scooby-Doo, Transformers, Jem and the Holograms, Inspector Gadget, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Star Wars, and coming very soon, Hey Arnold, and possibly other Nicktoons. But this isn't about those, whether you love or hate the reboots of the things that I've mentioned and others. This is about when a series reboots itself within its own continuity. And I have a few examples on that, as well as examples of things that is similar to a reboot. That's when a series visits an alternate reality. I'm going to go into when it works and when it doesn't. In Batman the Animated Series, the episode Pretends to Dream, we see what Bruce Wayne's life would be like if he had never been Batman. It explores a very fascinating subject, but the entire thing turns out to have been just a dream, a simulation created by the Mad Hatter. I enjoyed watching that particular episode. In Over the Edge, we see Batgirl gassed by Scarecrow, and she has a hallucination of Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon going after each other after the death of Batgirl. This was a little bit more of a trickier episode because you don't think that Batgirl would be having a dream about her own death. You're led to believe that she really did die and that Gordon really did learn the secret of Batman and he really did go after him and that he really did start arresting or killing the members of the Bat family. The reveal that Batgirl is still alive and that this is her dream comes as something as a surprise. But when the reveal is made, it feels kind of like a disappointment because something you've always wanted to see happen on that series is you've always wanted to see Bruce Wayne's secret get out that he's Batman, and for somebody else to find out about that secret and to see what would happen if he ever did have his secret revealed. Another similar situation was Phineas and Ferb in Phineas and Ferb Get Busted. You've always wanted to see Candace finally bust the boys and find out what happens when she's finally proven right about all of her stories of the boys doing inventions. When this finally happens, the whole thing turns out to be a dream. You get all hyped up to see this epic episode where something world-changing happens and it ends up being all just a dream. And likewise, when Phineas and Ferb visited the second dimension, they also did a thing of Phineas and Isabel finally kiss, and Perry's secret is revealed, and the boys know that their pet is a secret agent, only to have their memories of the entire adventure erased. Then major milestones of the series is reached, and things will change forever for the cast, but then, no, the reset button gets hit, and the characters' memories are erased, and all of that really never happened. Adventure Time also had a situation where what you think is real turned out to not be real. And that's in the episodes when we visit Fiona and Kate. And in those episodes, Fiona and Kate turn out to be fictional characters written by the Ice King, and he has this whole fan fiction going on. In a much bigger example, we have Dallas, which infamously undid an entire season by having all of the events of the season revealed to be just a dream. One of the major characters left the show and had his character hit by a car and killed. When the ratings started to sink, he came back and they retconned the entire season as just a dream by one of the other characters. And you can imagine what it would be like for the fans of that series learning that an entire season never happened. In another famous example, the last episode of the series Saint Elsewhere revealed that the entire series had taken place in the mind of an autistic child. This reveal of the episodes of Saint Elsewhere being all inside the head of a child who was imagining everything while holding a snow globe. If you discount all of that as complete works of fiction, then it also means that every show that crossed over with the series would also be revealed to be, in some part, fictional. Another series that was also famously revealed to be the entire show was just a dream happened with the series Newhart, which was revealed to be part of a dream of the character who was on the Bob Newhart show. The "it was all a dream" or "it was all a simulation" plot also happened several times in the multiple Star Trek episodes. Star Trek had many dream sequences, simulations, and alternate futures, including yesterday's Enterprise, when the series showed what it would be like if the Enterprise C was never sacrificed while battling to protect some Klingons. The episode Tapestry, where Picard got to see what his life would be like if he never became captain of the Enterprise and never took a fatal blow to his heart. And the episode All Good Things, where we see an alternate future for the Enterprise, and that entire timeline is undone by the events of the Star Trek movies. So see an interesting occurrence in the episode of Deep Space Nine, Trials and Tribulations, where the characters travel through time and integrate themselves into a past episode of the original Star Trek series, and they struggle to keep the events of that episode on track and leave things basically unchanged. We also get some major Star Trek reboots during the 2009 Star Trek reboot and the movie Star Trek Into Darkness, wherein they basically take the entire continuity of Star Trek and start it over, showing that similar things will happen with a few changes here and there, all because of the destruction of the planet Vulcan. And when Into Darkness hit, showing us the events of the Wrath of Khan playing out, again almost identical, only with things that happen to Spock happening to Kirk and things that happen to Kirk happening to Spock. A lot of fans got upset over it, while other fans saw it as creative and interesting that they were turning things around like that. But most people found it insulting that this series would repeat the events of one of the best movies ever in one of the worst ways ever. An episode of I Dream of Jeannie, the character Dr. Bellows, after many seasons of trying and failing to prove something strange was going on, finally learned that Genie was a genie. In a struggle, the genie's bottle gets broken and Major Nelson resigns from NASA, but then the whole thing turned out to be just a dream. And in one of the movies, Major Nelson gets himself into some serious trouble, and Genie has to make an agreement that the two of them never met, and that's the only way she can save his life. So the entire series at that point gets undone. The series Roseanne also did its final episode, revealing that everything that happened after Dan's heart attack was all part of Roseanne's fiction writing, and it was all a book that she wrote, and that reality was actually quite different from what we were presented on the series, and that Dan had actually died in reality, and Roseanne was trying to escape from that. So that means that Darlene and David getting married and having the baby, and Becky and Mark getting married, and so many other things all never happened. There's even major comic book reboots like Spider-Man One More Day and the DC Universe's New 52. And in animation and movies, you have things like Batman Begins, the Spider-Man trilogy versus The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man versus Spectacular Spider-Man versus Ultimate Spider-Man, Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes versus Avengers Assemble, X-Men versus X-Men Evolution versus Wolverine and the X-Men, the Fantastic Four versus their reboot, and so on and so on and so on. All of these take things that had good, strong continuity that people were emotionally invested in, that could have continued going, and they wiped out that continuity to start over for very ridiculous reasons. All of the things I just listed there could have continued telling stories, but instead they decided to reboot them and start the continuities over. In Scooby-Doo Mysteries Incorporated, they also ended that by rebooting the entire series so that all of the bad things that went down never happened, and everybody got a perfect happy ending. Now, when it comes to alternate timelines and alternate realities and rebooting entire continuities within a series, there are times when you can accept that this kind of thing could be a good idea. In comic books, it happens very notoriously and very often, and you come to expect it to happen. On shows like Gravity Falls and Arrow and The Flash, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the characters did some kind of event that undid past events so that certain things never happened. I'm also expecting this to be the resolution that the Ninja Turtles come across, because we recently lost the entire planet Earth and killed off Splinter and Shredder and a bunch of other vital characters. And the Turtles are kind of on a mission to hit that reset button, and we want that to happen. But then there are other shows where we get emotionally attached to the characters and the continuity that they've been building, and the last thing we want is for the series to be reset. There are lots of examples of times when fan bases just do not want to have entire continuities erased. Anyhow, that's all the thoughts I have for right now. Thank you for watching, and good night.